I'm doing fantastic. Appreciate it.
Man, I'm happy to have you on today. So first thing I wanted to bring up was your podcast, Unscripted, and I was just wondering if you'd go into how that got started and what really moves that podcast.
Yeah, so we started Unscripted about 3 years ago this month. I had a coworker, who's a good buddy of mine, and we would just kind of talk about a lot of areas of leadership that we felt were necessary in the country as it sort of struggled to get through certain times back with the George Floyd era and so forth. And so we decided to take that conversation onto a microphone and to see who was interested in listening. And that podcast had morphed over time into having lots of guests, David Meltzer and some other big names that people know if you follow personal development. And it's been about a 3-year process, 160 episodes. Myself and my other host, Lafayette Lane, he's incredible. He's a preacher by day, and he speaks all over the place. And that's primarily our focus, is to bring leadership in an authentic sort of feel so people can understand how they can be the man that, in our opinion, God has called them to be. And so that's our whole focus. How can we help people level up so they can live out their purpose?
Okay. I want to zoom out for just 1 second. And in your mind, what is leadership? What is being a leader?
I think leadership should be spelled EXAMPLE. So it's all about being an example. And John Maxwell actually says, he simplifies it. He says a leader is somebody with a following, period. So if you look back and there's no one behind you, you're not leading. There's no one there. And so it can be boiled down to pretty much that basic of who's following you. But in my opinion, when you want to understand, am I a good leader? It's not how loud you are. It's not necessarily how many people are following you. It's what kind of example are you? What kind of example are you to yourself, to your family, and to those people who are following you?
All right. So you put a great idea, a great image in my mind about what leadership is. How does that relate to the societal conversation in the podcast? How do y'all mix that in?
Well, I mean, not every podcast is all about society and relationships and so forth, but it is a good fabric. And when we're talking about leadership, like you mentioned in society, I think a lot, if we would start to focus on getting our eyes off of everybody else and start understanding how we ourselves can improve and what are the areas what are our fallacies? And just start understanding how we can be better as men and women, then I think the whole country would be better. If we would start understanding how we can serve other people instead of how they can serve us, how much better would this place be if we all just had this attitude of gratitude and this heart of servitude? I mean, what would this world look like? And so that's just kind of how we approach leadership. It's not about me. It's not about me getting noticed. It's about me leading myself and serving everyone else.
Wonderful answer there. I think the world would be a better place with that type of mindset, no doubt. So what are some of the things that come up as far as, leveling up on your podcast? Give me a couple of examples.
I would say, as far as leveling up, I mean, that's a good question. I'm a big advocate for reading, for example. And not just reading to read, but honestly, I think accountability is something that we all lack in different respects. So I might be very accountable in my reading, but very unaccountable to myself in exercise, which is a true story. And so we're fixing that as we speak. It's all good. But for me, you mentioned what is one area of leveling up. If I could pick something for everybody to fix, it would be accountability. Accountability to yourself, accountability to your families, accountability to whoever's following you. If we can hold ourselves accountable and work on holding our closest relationships accountable, that would be a huge thing. So for example, one of the accountabilities I have is reading, and it's to read every day. And a lot of people, they want to make this really difficult. So they say, I'm going to read because I need to grow myself. So I'm reading 50 pages a day so I can knock out 100 books this year. My accountability to myself is 1 page. That's it. I have to read 1 page a day. And here's why. If I have the busiest day ever, I'm up at 6 a.m. and I leave the house immediately. I don't get back until late in the evening. I'm working on something till 1 a.m., which is very similar to what yesterday looked like, actually. Went to bed at 1:15, no big deal. But you know what I can squeeze in before bed is 1 page. I can't guarantee 50. I can't even guarantee 10. But I can guarantee 1 page of reading to keep my accountability moving forward. And that same mentality can be used for anything. I don't typically read just 1 page, but at least one. That one may turn into 30 or 40 or 100, but I know I can do one. So the accountability is 1. It's like when you go for your run. Just give it 5 minutes. You may say, I'm going to run 3 miles a day. Why don't you try with 5, even when you don't feel like it? Say, I'm just going to go with the first 5 minutes. And if it feels horrible, I'll go back home. But if it's good, then I'll just keep rolling. I promise you 95% of the time or more, you will keep running after that first 5 minutes.
Yes, so true. I have such a good, clear example of just that storyline with my 2.5-year-old son. Recently, he has been eating a ton of food, way more food than he was, 1 month ago. And we've been keeping an eye on it. It's like, man, what's going on right here, And then, we want him to eat healthy food, though. What he really wants to eat is chips and bread and all those things you probably, shouldn't take up all of your diet. So we've been putting protein and some vegetable items on the plate, right? And he won't want to eat it. You know what I mean? He's a no. I'm a hard no on the broccoli, and I'm a hard no on that chicken right there. But what we know is if he eats just a little bit of it, and we keep him going, hey, just try a little bit more, he just keeps going after that. He really does. He'll eat the entire portion of chicken that we put on his plate if he just gets started. So I love that analogy there. Just get started. 1 page is the answer there, because 1 page almost always, like you said, turns into 10, 20, 30 pages. I will say, though, for the folks that don't have the problem with getting started, and the other side of that coin is, hey, I read 50 pages, I read 100 pages, I read 6 books this month, 10 books this month, whatever the case is. I almost think it becomes about how many books can I read or how many pages can I read, instead of that growth that they set out to look for to begin with. I'm one of those people who had that issue until I realized it. So great points there, man. I appreciate you bringing that up on the show.